I belong to you.
I belong to you.
You do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
What's it into an area? Keo from Boro!
And I'll always be around when you need some loving, baby. No one else.
Yeah. Put you down. All my melodies,
Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 83. Show is live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, your home to many great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So give us a follow on social media. Most important, subscribe to the YouTube channel to get all our shows first. You can also get the audio versions at the usual podcast and radio platforms. We've also added Amazon Music to that long list, including Spotify, Stitcher, all the others. And of course, if you want to streamline your Ace Podcast Nation content, you can just follow the football show at AC Footy Show on all platforms, social media platforms. And just as we wait for everyone to fill up, yes, James, that song is a banger to start the weekend. It's been a couple of weeks since we've heard the intro song as well, so it was nice to hear it again. But yeah, just as we're waiting for everything to fill up, big thank you as usual to Black Diamond Sports, a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages and of course their website, as they've been making some big moves recently, expanding in various fields. The links in description, and of course the closing credits. And a big thank you to Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show. Here's a quick word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Bespoke Financial specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. And you can of course check out the links at the end to check out some of their products and information about their things they do. Today is Friday. The championship show is back. Hopefully it's Friday, which normally means my computer's not going to work, or it's going to freeze, or something will go wrong because it's Friday. But fingers crossed, everything will go well. Joining me to talk the championship is none other than the goal collector himself, the fox in the box, Cardiff City and ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, David Jones's favourite son, Mr. Andrew Campbell. Welcome. Happy Friday, my friend. You're muted.
It's been a very good week. It's been a very good week for two of my teams, by the way. 4 points out of 2 games for both of them. Some cracking results. Not fantastic performances, which I'll go on about soon. I nearly fell asleep on. I did fall asleep on Wednesday night watching one of them, which Tuesday night, which one I can't remember which one. All the days seem to roll into one. But listen, loads of action, loads of good goals, loads of poor defending. The Championship side seems to be the gift what keeps on giving. You know what I mean? And for me, outside of the big league, you know what I mean? If it wasn't for the Premier League with all what's going on, the Championship would be, if not one of the best leagues in the world.
Yeah, mate, it's unbelievable. And it's so difficult to predict because it's just all over the place. Every time you think teams are getting a bit of a run together, they kind of just blow it.
Yeah.
The next game is incredible. Anyone really can beat anyone. And what I really enjoyed this week was just watching the carnage that the pointless international break has done to teams' forms. Always the same every year, mate, isn't it? That early break seems to really kill the form of teams or the lack of form.
I don't like it, Si. I don't like where it leaves certain teams. You know, the teams go in form and players pick up injuries. You know, I'll use. We spoke about it briefly before about Kiefer Moore that. He obviously picked up an injury against England. He then continued to play the next game for Wales. He didn't play both games this week for Cardiff. You know what I mean? I know it's 2 games in short space of time, but it's early in the season. Players should be able to do that. And thankfully, you know, I know we'll talk about the games, but thankfully they picked up positive results. But if they didn't, and it's because of a fitness, if it's a fitness issue, because of injuries, because of internationals, it's not fair on the clubs who pay hard-earned money. You know that. Teams haven't got a lot of money at the minute, so they can't afford to be wasting money on players and wages, and then not getting the value.
Yeah, and the other thing with Kiefer Moore quickly is that did he need to play in that second game after he'd had a knock for Wales, or should they have really be taking care of him? And he's had a knock, let's not play him. I don't know. I don't know what
I know
whether
people
they should or they shouldn't.
I know people say so. I don't know that the competitive games. In my eyes, they're not a competitive game. So for me, he didn't need to play. He didn't need to play the first game. So it certainly doesn't need to play the second or the third. Then does he? It's just sometimes these games can just be a little bit too much too soon.
I'm not going there again. We can't talk international football again. We'll have the same conversation again. It's just I hate it. Yeah, I agree completely. By the way, on to A or B, mate, because we're going to be 60 minutes sharp today. So, first bit of A or B. I've picked both today, actually. I just realised.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
But being greedy. So, the first one, for all the people who think I'm a Man United fan, this isn't going to help. But it is EFL based. Paul Scholes was brought in by Salford City, League 2. Graham Alexander was sacked. He was unbeaten start to the season. Obviously, he'd gotten promoted, etc. Very experienced player, manager. Particularly in that kind of lower league system, and they're as usual. Scholes and Neville and co ruthless. Alexander out, Paul Scholes in temporarily. I don't expect him to stay there too long. I think he's just there while they sort of manager out. But what was your reaction to that?
I'll be honest. I'd love to see the remit of a manager and what the expectations are of a manager at that club, because promotion doesn't seem to save you a job. Stability doesn't seem to save your job. So for me, it's quite a cutthroat industry, football at the best of times, but they're more than most, unfortunately. So I do feel as though the next manager whoever goes there is under severe pressure, and they're fighting a little battle from day one because they've had so much success in a short space of time that whoever goes there, they are due a tough time soon, because they're going to hit a level where they're either going to have to spend loads of money. Or they're just going to struggle, and I do really feel sorry for whoever takes over, because it's also an appealing job as well. So a lot of people will want it. A lot of people who are in a job will want it, but the grass isn't always greener, and that's probably the point that I'd probably say to a lot of people. But I thought Graham did a great job. He's a good manager. He did a really good job at Preston, and I do feel sorry for him. But I do believe he'll walk into another job and he'll be a successful manager, because I think he always has a certain style of playing, and it's always quite appealing to supporters and for the viewers. I've always enjoyed watching his teams play.
Well, here's a question for you, mate. Should a League 2 side be sacking a manager because the style of play is not up to the standard of or should it purely be based on success? Because he was they're unbeaten this year. Go on, answer that first, or I got another question about it then.
Listen, I don't think you can say this because I looked at Cardiff City's style of football the year they got promoted to the Premier League, and it was pretty poor. But results speak for themselves. So for me, we're in the results business, are we not? So results speak for itself. If you're winning games or you're unbeaten, then you're in the best position possible, and the league doesn't lie. But Kevin Keegan played the best football in the world in 97, 98, 99, but didn't win anything. So is that what they want to achieve? Do they want all this expansive goal scoring, attacking football, but they lose every week? And they don't want that. Fergie didn't have a philosophy when they first came in about doing things a certain way. They just ground teams down at times at United, and until they probably got Cristiano Ronaldo, you know what I mean? They had a different style of playing football because they didn't have those kind of world-class footballers. So I do find style of football quite extraordinary that they're talking about that at that level, because everyone's, you know, we know the further you go down the leagues you are, that there's less football being played, and how can you play football if a team's setting up to break you down and upset you and kick you, for example? So it's a difficult one for me to take that.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to ask, you mentioned it'll be a tricky job for whoever takes over, but I think I think they have shown though that they will spend money if they need to. They've got that money. You know, they're all multi-millionaires, and they've also got that Peter Lim, who I believe is not far off being a billionaire from what I can gather. Yeah. Or he's certainly loaded, so they're not short of a few quid. So I don't think. You know, if they feel that it's the right player and the right manager, etc., they'll pay. You know, they've shown they'll spend money. Even when they were in the non-league system, they spent a lot of money. So, you know, be interesting who they bring in, because but there's some big names, mate, around who
totally agree.
Will work.
I totally agree. But then I could throw something else at you. So why sack him now? Then why not sack him 3 weeks ago? So then a new manager could come in and spend all that money. They've got the money. They've got the finances.
Yeah, I did wonder that, and I also wondered when they took over how long it would be before one of them fancied a crack at it. And I do wonder whether that's Scholes or whether Gary Neville said he does not interested in being a manager anymore. Phil Neville's just finished with the women, or is about to finish with the England women. Yeah, might he fancy it? I mean, Phil Neville.
Listen, if you put them together, how can you know? I mean, the players will want to play for them. They'll get a little bit more time than anybody else. The style of football and the players that can attract to that football club, being managers, will be bigger than they are as owners. So you know, I mean, for me, would it be a risk? No, because I think it'll be win-win. But it's just long term. Is that their aspirations? Is that what they want to do?
Yeah, and lastly on this. Craig Sullivan with a cracking question. How far can Salford go with that stadium?
Not well.
Limited, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
would they even be able to go up to League One with that stadium?
Yeah. Well,
they meet the requirements,
so.
Do they?
Well, I think you probably would, because as long as you're all seater and it's safety and it passes all the safety requirements, it doesn't matter how big it is. But you're limited because. It's difficult. You're going to have to pay more money to people to go the higher you go up in the leagues. They're not going to generate any more money than what they are, because even a full stadium sell out week in, week out is not going to generate the kind of money what other teams are bringing in the League One and Championship. So you know what I mean, it's all well and good having these aspirations, which are great by the way, but you've got to try and generate more money. You look why have Man United done what they've done with the stadium? Why have Arsenal moved stadiums? Why have Man City moved stadiums? Why have Liverpool gone bigger and better? Why did Middlesbrough leave? Why did Cardiff City leave? They leave because it's a financial decision and a business decision.
I do think that if they were to get to kind of Championship level, I do believe that then they would start looking towards building a new stadium somewhere. Yeah. Because I think ultimately if they get to that Championship level, it's only a matter of time before they go up.
Yeah.
Because just you look at the upward curve since they've taken over. They've got the finances and the football knowledge and contacts to ultimately go until they hit their targets, basically.
I agree. I totally agree.
The second bit of any other business we've got is daily. I think it was the Times actually this week, or maybe the Telegraph. I might be wrong. Reported that the EFL rejected a £375 million offer from an American investment firm for a 20% stake in the EFL that basically would have helped solve a lot of clubs' cash crises, if not all of them. I found it really, really interesting. I believe there's a similar deal was offered to the Premiership Rugby. I'm not 100% sure. Oh no, sorry, I correct myself. There's a similar deal in place with a different firm in rugby, in the Premiership, I think it is. It's certainly an interesting. It's an interesting thing, mate. But ultimately, I'm not sure if it's the right thing.
I can see why they turned it down for me. I think it's probably the amount of control and power that they've still got hold of. So for me, I just see if somebody wants to buy and take full control of it, and the business model and the business plan is going to make the league and the club stronger and has sustainability, then I'm all for it. But for me, what you're buying into, you know what I mean? You're buying into an organisation who's lending money to clubs. You know what I mean? You're never going to get that back. So, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Especially,
it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Yeah,
like once you sell it.
And I think, and then I also think as well. I think the first club who uses this fund, I believe there's going to be club after club after club. But what's the credentials to use this kind of money? You know what I mean? That's my worry and my concern as well. That teams are going to want to just wipe the debts out, which is fine, but there's got to be a level that you're at, and if you can't play the players, there's got to be, you know what I mean? Because Cardiff City have got loads of debt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the chairman said, and Middlesbrough Football Club have got loads of debt, and Luton Town will have loads of debt. Stoke City will have loads of debt because Stoke City have got their highest wage bill in the Championship. But that's not a reason to get funded and get extra money. It's for teams like Macclesfield Down and Bury and teams who are really struggling.
Yes. What is interesting is it says in the report that the 72 EFL clubs were not discussed, and it was not put to them to have any input on it. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. I almost feel like it should have been put to them, but ultimately, if it didn't get that far, maybe there was no need.
I don't think they'll have been accepted. I'll be honest. I think
I don't either. I think it's a slippery slope, mate.
Yeah. I think clubs are happy with the way EFL running their league, believe it or not. I honestly do. I know we laugh and we joke and we say how well they're doing, but they know. Or part of them, I think they believe that they're doing a good job.
So in rugby, CVC Capital Partners has a deal with the Premiership Rugby where it owns a 27% stake in the league system. I'm not familiar with rugby, but I just think it's a slippery slope to start selling out bits and pieces of the league.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I think it's one thing having it, like sponsored by Sky Bet or whatever, and obviously you had like the Barclays Premier League, didn't you? And then you had the Carlin Premiership. Yeah. But I think if you're selling the what is it? I suppose the IP, I guess.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah. Well, you just someone. For me, I think it's a long-term investment. Somebody will want to, they'll want to see how it's run, and then they'll probably invest more, get a bigger percentage, or buy it out in total. In so long, but just if somebody wants it, take over now and the
problem you got though, mate, is if it was American based, you look at the way they're already like the owners of Liverpool United over the last few years have been angling to change the pyramid system or the pyramid. I do think that they would rather see a franchise type system within soccer or football, whatever you want to call it.
I agree.
And that worries me because I don't want to see that. The only sport which I think it actually works really well is American football and cricket.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good thing to do with any other sport. I don't think there's anything wrong with the way the system is. I just think the people who run it need to be football people, not politicians and bankers and such.
I totally agree.
Right, I'm just going to have a cough because I can't breathe. Sorry about that. Couldn't breathe. Right. So what we're going to do today, because there's two lots of games and because we want to keep it to a sharp hour, instead of going game by game, we're going to go team by team and discuss the action that way. So we're going to start at the base of the table with Sheffield Wednesday. What did you make of their week?
Obviously, the league table is and I know we always mention about the league table doesn't lie, but this league table does lie for them personally. I mean, they had a good result at the weekend against Birmingham City away from home. It was obviously going to be a game with not a massive amount of goals and chances the way that both teams set up. I thought Sheffield Wednesday probably deserved it in the end. Obviously a 1-0 victory with a penalty from Barry Banham. I didn't expect him to miss when he got the ball. I thought he was excellent. But then they lost at home to Brentford in the week after going 1-0 down. Callum Patterson got his first goal from it was Cardiff made, and then Cardiff finished from Kadeem Harris and then Patterson. So it obviously shows that the ex-Cardiff City players are obviously still doing well in the Championship. But obviously Ivan Toney for Brentford is just on fire at the minute. He's had a really good week himself with 4 goals and scored 2 goals in the first half, which you can't give Brentford those kind of chances, those kind of games. So, but for me, I think Sheffield Wednesday will do a little bit better once they get to 0 points or plus points, because I think a monkey will be off the back a little bit. But at the minute, the league table looks really bad for them because they're 6 or 7 points out of safety, so to speak.
Yes, it's a difficult one for them, isn't it? Kadeem Harris, I think, was in my team of the year last year for the Championship. I thought
he was excellent.
I thought he really had a good season. I think, from a Sheffield Wednesday point of view, it's very much about just getting as many points on the board as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and the arse side, they're doing it the right way. They went to Birmingham, really tough game, got the victory, and then when they come at home, I expected them probably to pick a point up or pick all 3 up against Brentford, because they've got confidence, they're playing well, but then to lose a game, it also adds pressure as well.
Yeah, and I think Birmingham have started the season very well, and I think their results don't necessarily reflect how well they've been playing. Yeah. They've been quite impressive, and as I've mentioned before, the thing I like about them is they have a very young squad, and enjoy seeing young players given a chance, which we'll talk about a bit more in a minute. Wycombe Wanderers next, mate. What did you make of their week?
Not a great week. So they got off to
struggling.
They got off to a really good start at the weekend against Millwall. No fault of their own, by the way. They were gifted a goal by, and that's what's really struggling. I think at the minute, Gareth's really struggling to get his side to score goals and attack. It's a really tough league, and the league's really kicked on at another level with the amount of money which is involved coming down from the Premier League, the amount of teams who come up who's spending money, the size of the clubs in there. So it was always going to be tough, but I did expect them to start a little bit better than they have done. Really worried for them at the minute, because it's a really tough league. And then they went in the midweek and played Reading, and it was always going to be a tough game. Reading are on fire at the start of the season, like they have been for the last few years. So it's a tough team to go and play against.
Yeah, it's a shame. But like you say, I expected them to start better, because I thought they'd be on a high from the playoff, a couple of weeks before the season started, really.
Yeah.
And when I saw they were winning versus Millwall, I thought, finally, here we go. They're going to get their season going. And it just didn't.
Listen, I hope soon. They scored 1 goal sign that was given to them at the weekend, so it's a difficult one. They've let 13 goals in. It's a really tough start, harder than I imagined, and I'm guessing harder than Gareth and the players imagined as well.
Yeah. Hopefully they can get it together, though. I do think, though, if they can, once they get that first win, I wouldn't be surprised to see them go on a little bit of a run and start scoring a bit more freely.
Yeah, they need it. But, listen, the teams who have always come upside play with a bit of freedom, and that's what they're lacking a little bit at the minute. They're lacking a little bit of freedom, a little bit of confidence, and a little bit of belief.
They haven't got that carefree attitude which the teams who come up so often have.
No,
where they almost throw players forward. Yeah. They defend a bit streaky, and
But listen, last year we spoke about Barnsley, kept loads of clean sheets in League One, couldn't keep a clean sheet in the Championship, but then they scored more goals, so it was a little bit like more entertaining, but then they stayed up last game. So if Wycombe can stay up last game, fantastic for them. But the way the league's at the minute, luckily enough for them is a side finished with -10, so -12. So at the minute they're not bottom by default, but it's going to be a long season.
Next up, mate, is Derby County, who've had a horror of a week. And
they play tonight as well.
Side story going on there as well, which we'll talk about in just a sec. But
and they play tonight as well. They play tonight against Nottingham Forest in a local derby.
Give us your prediction then before we start. So we talk about them.
But to be honest, I think Chris Hughton's done a decent job start since he's come in. So for me, I think the players right up for it. I think it's Philip Cock who's a dead man walking. I'll be honest. I know we're going to talk about that in a second, but I don't see him getting out of this. I don't see, that they went to Norwich with the one that saved his job. I thought they would have kicked on a little bit. They played Watford last Friday. Pedro scored a worldie. can't help that, but they look clueless going forward. And then played Huddersfield in the week, and Bakuna scored the winner. Another game without a goal, and just lacking ideas, lacking goals. And with a team with Wayne Rooney in it, last year they had Waghorn, Chris Martin, players who would just create chances and score goals. They're massively lacking something this year, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I go for Forest as well. Derby this week particularly, more so than even they have all season, looks so disjointed. Defensively, you almost feel like they're going to concede a goal every time the ball's in that area. And I think that's really worrying when you look at the kind of players they've got. And defensively, actually, I'd say, when you look at their squad on paper, if you take out this season and the last season, and you just looked at them on paper, they've got David Marshall in goal. They were lucky to keep hold of him because there was talk of him going to Celtic,
which is a better goalkeeper for me. So that's a plus. That's better than what they had this time last year.
Well, mate, David Marshall's one of the best goalkeepers the Championship's ever seen.
Yeah,
you know, he's
totally agree.
Defensively, they got Davis and Clark. They got players like Andre Wisdom on the bench.
Yeah.
So on paper, defensively they should be good, but they're
missing
not.
Tom Huddleston. Lawrence hasn't started the season half as well as what he ended it. You know what I mean? He had a really good end after what happened last year.
But at least they played Clark this week. The week before they left him on the bench.
I think it's difficult. Obviously, they sold the two younger players to Sheffield United. I think that's a big miss because it gives them energy. You know what I mean? Knight gives them energy. They bomb on from full-back areas and they can get up and down because they're young and they're keen. But they're massively missing something. They're not scoring enough goals. That's
I think Tom Huddleston's role in that team is massively underrated as well. He protects them and he's just a very good player. But and he's experienced as well around some of those younger players. Also in the Daily Mail this week, there was a report that Philip Cocu is a dead man walking, and Wayne Rooney will become player coach if they lose on Friday or tonight. And even if he does win, it's basically only a matter of time. Look, we've been saying that since last January that he's under that extra bit of pressure because Rooney's there. Rooney wants to get into coaching. Everyone knows this. The problem is Cocu's never really got them going. No. They had that little run towards the end of last year, but that was more. It seemed to be more to do with Rooney coming in and giving the squad a lift than Cocu tactically changing something or making them better. And that's my worry. Is he hasn't made them better. He's made them a lot worse tactically and defensively and offensively as well.
It's not like he hasn't had time, Si, as well. You know, you spoke about offensively there that the players that he's let go. You know what I mean? A target man. You know what I mean? That's quite a British thing to have, and you know what I mean. But that's what the Championship's all about. You know what I mean? You've got runners either side. That's what Lawrence worked off and played off some good work by Chris Martin last year. So Chris Martin leaves, goes to Bristol City. What did Bristol City do? Start scoring goals, start putting balls in the box. You know that you can't beat a good Championship experienced centre forwards. You know what I mean? They're like gold dust and they cost a lot of money. So to let them go on a free, it's just scandalous for me. So they've got nobody to blame but themselves.
But they're not the only Championship club, mate, which seem to be making these weird decisions about fees and letting players go.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's a strange one. Next up, we're looking at Barnsley's week.
We spoke about Barnsley, about letting loads of goals in and scoring loads of goals. 2-2 and 2-2. So
great result against Bristol, I thought.
Well, I thought both. I thought Bristol City at home 2-2 and then Stoke City away 2-2. I know Stoke City had a man sent off through the week, so they probably would have expected a little bit more. But if you offered them 2 points out of 2 games and 4 goals, I think they'd have snapped your hand off because I think it's been a really strong week. You know, I watched them the week before at Middlesbrough, and they were poor. You know, I mean they weren't great, and the week before they drew against Coventry City. So you know, what I mean, it's about churning points over this time of the year. You know, what I mean, they've lost some influential players, but you know, what I mean, for me, I think they've had a fabulous week. I think they've had a really, really strong week. Yeah,
to get a draw against Stoke and Bristol have been on fire.
Yeah.
What I did find, it wouldn't be. I don't know if I'd be too happy if I was Bristol conceding a 102nd minute penalty. I don't know if I'd be too happy about that. But
no. Well, to be honest, I think there was loads of things happening in the game, and
so there's a lot of injury time, though, isn't it?
It is,
Minutes,
for me, I can't always justify.
Was there like a like a stretcher job sort of thing?
Yeah, there
or
was.
anything like
Yeah,
that?
there was. Yeah, it was a bad injury, but I don't think that the things add up. And then they're on about there was 6 substitutions, and there's another 4 minutes. Well, I don't get that. I don't.
But they
get it
add
sometimes.
that. Some games they add it. Some games some
Yeah, I
some
know.
games
So it's
they
just,
don't.
but
It's
still a lot of
frustrating.
time to add on, because then you're adding 8 onto 4, and you just, you know what I mean. And there's how your season can be defined sometimes.
But they've had a tough, 3 games: Middlesbrough, Barnsley,
really
and,
tough.
Middlesbrough, Bristol, and Stoke.
Yeah,
Next
really
game's
tough.
Millwall. So
Yeah, really tough.
if they can get a win tomorrow, I think they've had a successful
Yeah.
3 or 4 games
Yeah, I agree.
against some big teams. Who we got next? Let's have a look.
Nottingham Forest.
Go on then, New Forest.
Nottingham Forest. Listen,
Chrissy
they
Hughton.
go to Blackburn Rovers. New manager. Get off to a fabulous start, beating them 1-0 with a very late goal. And then they play Rotherham United at home, and thinking this is a formality. They're going to beat them very comfortably, and they go 1-0 down, and you're chasing the game side. You know that it's so difficult to chase games against any side, but they give a poor penalty away, and then he makes a couple of good substitutions. Lyle Taylor comes on, and Harry Arter comes on. So the two who I've been calling for all season to be playing up front together, and they're involved in the equaliser. For Sammy Amiobi, Lewis Grabbing was in particular, and the draw 1-1. But I think, for me, I think that's 2 points dropped. But
Yeah,
I think,
well, it's gotta be.
but overall, it was a really good week for Chris Hughton.
Yeah, it was a good start. They looked like a team who were a bit more together and a bit more, not just focused, but also they just looked a bit more tactically cohesive.
They look like a team side now,
Yeah, they were
Especially
all
last 2
over the
games, they
place
look-
at
they
the
look
start,
like a
at the
team,
start
yeah.
of the season.
and
I
that's
know
defensively and offensively.
it's funny, isn't it? But like I was saying about the mental block and how losing the playoff place on the last day to goal difference, and then that's carried over into this season. But now all of a sudden, that hangover seems to have gone. So are we saying that hangover was because of the manager? It's a
Well,
weird one,
the thing
isn't
is-
it?
yeah, well,
Players
the
have
thing
got to
is,
take
you-
responsibility for how badly they've started the season.
I totally agree. But sometimes you don't know what's getting said before games. So are they going with that mental block of remember what happened against Swansea? We can't let that happen again. So you're always getting reminded of it. You know, so I don't know that's happening, by the way. I'm just
Yeah, of course.
second guessing. But I just think the way a new manager comes in, sometimes it's always written in the wall, and I feel really sorry for for managers who lose their jobs, because the manager always comes in and changes the fortunes around very quickly.
Yeah, and I got to say, like, Blackburn have been banging form. Blackburn have got a great squad, so to get a win against Blackburn was a big result for Forest. And
Yeah.
like you say, dropping points really against Rotherham. Next up, newcomers Coventry were next.
Yeah, a tough game at the weekend against Brentford. Ivan Toney obviously played against him last year for Peterborough. Scored again. He's had obviously we'll talk about him very soon, but he's had a good week. Really hard for Coventry, you know, that it's all about them picking up as many points as they can early doors, just to give themselves a footing chance to stay in the league. You know, they drew against Swansea, so they must be doing something right. You know, I know it was a home game, and they went 1-0 up through Shipley. IU equalised, but I thought they did really well for long periods. They created some chances. Second half in particular, I thought they were very good, but they just couldn't get that second goal. And we just spoke about their side, about Wickham not scoring enough goals, Rotherham not scoring enough goals, Coventry City not scoring enough goals. The difference between Barnsley last year, Luton, to be fair, scored a few goals,
Yeah.
but the difference between the League One and the Championship is massive. You know what I mean? I know people say it's not, but it is, and I think we're seeing that.
It is, but if you look over the last few seasons, teams who've succeeded coming up, it's those teams who've been able to score, but it's the way they've played.
Yeah.
They've kind of played with a bit of freedom, and
So saying that,
I'm not really seeing that from the teams who've come up so far.
they've scored a goal a game, 6 goals in 6 games, but they've let 10 goals in. You know what I mean? So you've got to justify something. But it's a tough league.
Jump.
It's a tough league side, you know.
Good result though against Swansea, mate.
Yeah,
Swansea
really
have been
good.
in pretty good
Yeah,
form.
really good.
So
Really good.
unlucky.
Yeah, really good. Birmingham City.
To Birmingham.
Birmingham, they've had a terrible week, and I said at the start of the season side that Aitor had obviously took over. He has a style of play in the Championship which works when it works, but when it doesn't work, it doesn't look great. You know what I mean? 2 1-0 defeats. Scored 3 goals this season. Yes, they've only let 4 in 6 games, which is defensively very good considering you've lost 2 games, but they don't score enough goals. That I watched the game in the week against Norwich City for long parts, and it was a 0-0 draw all day long. 0-0 draw, but then you switch off for 5 seconds, all of a sudden you give an 87-minute winner to the other side, and Adam Clayton got sent off, and it's by the time you know it, the whole thing's gone wrong, innit? So really bad week for Birmingham, but I'm sure Aitor will turn things around. Listen, he's got a very good squad of players. He's got a better squad of players at the club now than they had last year with Jude Bellingham in it.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I think the hardest thing is getting, because they've got quite a young squad, is getting those experienced players to help those young players build up momentum and consistency of form. If they can do that, I think they'll be right up there in the top 10, to be honest. I'd expect them to be closer to the top 10 than the bottom 3 at the end of the season, which probably curses them to the bottom 3.
Yeah, they're probably going to get now. Thanks.
But of course, Norwich, a very difficult team to beat.
Yeah, totally.
And then we got Rotherham United, the newcomers.
Yeah, well, you just spoke about Norwich there. They played Norwich at the weekend. They're 1-0 ahead for long periods, and then all of a sudden, by the time you know it, 93 or 4 minutes, Jordan Hugill scores a winner, and then they play Nottingham Forest in the week. They let in a 80th minute equaliser, so 2 late goals. It can ruin confidence and it can shut you down. Is it a fitness thing? Are the players switching off? Is it because you're playing against better players than you used to, and you're not concentrating for the full 90 minutes? They've been taught a massive lesson. That they can go back to when they got beat by Millwall at home by the mistake for Jed Wallace. Lost against Millwall, drew against Birmingham, drew against Huddersfield, lost against Norwich, drew against Nottingham Forest. They've had a tough month, So I think they'll really enjoy seeing the rest of this month out.
Yeah, my thing with the Norwich game is they did so well they had a good early goal, and then it obviously went to pieces very quickly. They had a player sent off just after they'd conceded the equaliser, and then obviously a 95th minute penalty. You can't switch off against the big teams, and it seems like they imploded a little bit in the last 20 minutes.
Totally agree.
Elliot Whitehead just said, "Can you sign his poster?"
Of course, Elliot.
He's your biggest fan.
Of course. Why aren't we watching Derby against Forest? Because this show's far better than any football game on the planet.
Absolutely spot on, mate. And then we got QPR, mate. Up and down team of the start of the season.
I can't work them outside. 1 minute we rave about them how good they are going forward, and then they have a week with no goals. Good result away at Bournemouth with a clean sheet, and then they come home against Preston North End and don't normally travel, and then can't defend again and don't score. So I can't work them out. I really do think sometimes that the Championship is just a nightmare of a league. Mark Warburton must be baffled sometimes, that he's got Macaulay Bourne, he's got some good attacking players from wide. He's just signed out Albert Adoma as well, so they've got an opportunity to kick on and upset some teams. But QPR for me, I think they're a middle table side, so I think they'll be.
You should be good enough, shouldn't they?
Quite happy with that, yeah.
But they got to find some consistency in defence. It seems they seem to be.
Yeah, totally agree.
No problem. And next up was Preston North End. Again, started the season great.
Yeah,
but
obviously they didn't
very
play
up and down lately.
Yeah, well, they didn't play on Saturday. They played Sunday against Cardiff City, and I think Cardiff have got the mockers on Preston North End. Obviously they beat them last season in lockdown, and then obviously Cardiff won again. So yeah, it doesn't come any difficult than that. But then they go to QPR, which for me was probably a tougher game on paper, away from home, and to go and win very comfortably and score 2 very good goals. So they're hit and miss, aren't they? I mean, they lose one, then they win one. They lose one, then they win one. So it's another thing. Look at last year's side. The start they had give them an opportunity to get in the playoffs, and it's going to be a big ask for them to go on a run like they had last year later on in the season, because the league's going to get tougher, because teams are going to spend more money in January, which is going to make the league a lot more tougher.
Indeed, yeah. I like watching Preston, but Cardiff Preston was always going to be a close game. They just didn't defend too well, but that seems to be a theme of the season, mate. Teams not defending too well. Blackburn next. They started the season on fire. They've got an incredible squad built. They really strengthened in the summer, and then all of a sudden, they've since they drew with Cardiff, they've lost 2 games on the bounce.
Yeah, obviously got beat by Nottingham Forest at home, which I think the longer that game went, I knew there was going to be a goal, and it was only going to be Nottingham Forest who got it, because obviously the new manager, etc. And then in the week, I watched the first 15-20 minutes of the Blackburn game, and they were absolutely shambolic all over the place. The goals they were giving away, the chances they were giving away. Yes, Watford are like a breath of fresh air at the minute going forward, and they've got some really exciting players, but Blackburn don't normally defend like that, and Tony Mowbray will be pulling his hair out because they're not scoring as many goals as they did in the early part of the season as well. Because obviously Armstrong, he's scoring hat tricks and scoring goals, and I think the quicker Bradley Dack gets back, he's a huge player for them in midfield. It'll be like a new signing, so I think it'll be. But they've still got good enough players. For me, there's no excuse why they're losing the games that they're losing or not winning the games that they're winning. They're 3 games without a win. Let's see if they can turn it around tomorrow when they play Coventry City away.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Next up is the mighty Cardiff City. Pretty good week.
Yeah, they've had a fabulous week. Like I say, Preston North End away from home is a really tough game. I think the go there, win 1-0 comfortably, another clean sheet, which is great. Harry Wilson makes his debut. Ojo gets the winning goal, fantastic. And you're going to then a really tough game against a side what's come down, and to go 1-0 down shows some spirit, shows some fighting the boys, and I was really pleased that they got back into it, and I think they were unlucky not to win it.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that one of the things will be, which was good for Cardiff, is obviously Ojo got his first goal. That's going to be big for him as a young player. Harry Wilson scoring his debut is good because you want your attacking players, which you bring in, particularly lone players. You need them scoring ASAP, don't you, to get a bit of a momentum. But I thought Harry Wilson looked excellent all round, not just his goal.
I thought Smithy's save though was out of this
superb.
world. But I'm not surprised though, and I think if that was a Premier League goalkeeper, it'd get mentioned all the time. But for me, I was expecting him to save those kind of things because I think he's playing with so much confidence and belief, and he is a top goalkeeper, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. But I think for me, we said earlier on, didn't we? We via text when we had a conversation. It was nice to see the young boy play left back Bagan. Get an opportunity for Cardiff City because young players notoriously don't get an opportunity to play. So it was nice.
But you know why he's got an opportunity, don't you? He's got an opportunity because Cardiff didn't strengthen in the right areas.
Yeah, well, so obviously Joe's injured.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. Normally they would, but things though they could have played. They could have moved formation around. Nelson probably could have played out there, and they could have brought in.
They probably would have played Patterson there.
You know what I mean? Patterson could have played there. You know what I mean? You could even
sold him.
You could have even put Joe Walls out there to play full back. You know, he sat on the bench.
It's good that they gave it to to a youngster.
I'm really pleased. Really impressed.
And I thought he did pretty well.
Really
overall. Impressed. Tomlin's back for the next game, so you'd like to think they're keeping clean sheets. I'd like to see him score some more goals. And just on Smithies again, shows you how good Etheridge was for like a season or two. Just how good his shot stopping was to be able to keep out a keeper of Smithy's standard, basically.
Yeah. Well, a little bit on Bournemouth there. Solanke, you know what I mean? He's had a really good start of the season. Scored some important goals in the games that he's played. He obviously scored at Middlesbrough, scored at Cardiff City, and he scored another in another game. So he's had a really strong start.
Spot on, mate. And next we had where's my table?
Luton Town.
To click off it. Luton Town.
Yeah, they've had a tough week. They've had a good start, really good start. Been really impressed with the way that they turned things around. Obviously, last weekend they beat Wickham, but then obviously this week they lose to Stoke City at home 2-0, and then through the week they get beat by Millwall 2-0. So it's a really, really tough week. But those two games what they had this week, they don't get much tougher than that. You know, the Stoke for me on paper really strong side. Powell, I thought was excellent in the game. Luton really lacked a few chances, but then you play Millwall, and Millwall, they're so unpredictable, but they seem to get the job done, and they do a really good job. And Gary Rowett must be really pleased with the way that his team's playing. Jed Wallace, you know what I mean? He runs games. He takes people on. Obviously, Craney scored the own goal just before half time, which makes a difference. Great time to score, but they've got an opportunity. And Millwall have got Kenneth Ashore, by the way, playing in front, so. You know what I mean? They've got they can't be that struggling for money if they've got people like him playing for them.
Oh yes, and the thing I like about Luton is that no matter whether they win, lose or draw, they're fun to watch. Going forward, defensively they're a bit streaky, but I enjoy their football. They try to play in a good old-fashioned stadium. Next up is The mighty Boro.
You know, the mighty Reds. 2 clean sheets in a week. Not the best 2 games of football I've ever watched. I'll be honest, they're really bad. But I know what was coming. I knew what style of football was coming. The Bristol City game was probably one of the worst games of football I'd ever seen. It had to be a mistake, which was gonna win the game. Saville took it really well. I'll be honest. I thought defensively Bristol City were all over the place for the goal, but once that goal went inside, there was no way in the world Middlesbrough wouldn't let a goal in. You know, the way they set up, they weren't even hard to beat. It was just somebody just stuck 5 buses in the way of the 18-yard box. Nobody ever was getting through it.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
But that's the Neil Warnock factor.
Yeah, and I think that's what we always said, wasn't it? Is that he'll keep them
works.
tight. Is whether they can score enough goals.
It's effective
throughout the season.
and I don't think they can, because I don't think they've got enough creativity in midfield, and I don't think they've got that centre forward who will get you the 15-20 goals which get you in the playoffs.
Spot on. One team who has got their act together this season, and again they've had a very good week, is Stoke City, who we've talked about a lot over the last the last season and this season, just how this on paper they look awesome, but they didn't seem to be able to get it together. They seem to be slowly getting it together, mate. Andy's gone for a run. But yeah, Stoke, just talking on Stoke, I think they've been doing very, very well lately. I like a lot of their players, and they're holding it. They're just getting a bit of momentum. Stoke City, mate, getting a bit of momentum slowly.
Sorry, my sound went off there. Yeah, listen, they've got the best squad in the league, so I mentioned the Luton Town game. Stephen Fletcher, listen, he's one of their best centre forwards in the division. You know what I mean? Leads the line really well. He's aggressive. He's got a good touch. He brings people into the game. And Nick Powell, I thought his finish was outstanding. And you know what I mean? He's got an opportunity to score 15 goals if he's playing regular in a good side. And then obviously Stoke City play at home against Barnsley. Would the game have been different if they didn't have Collins sent off potentially? Because to get him sent off at 2-2 with half an hour to go. You know what I mean? It takes obviously a big opportunity for them to go and get the 3 points, but they're a lot stronger, a lot better going forward. You know what I mean? You've got your Campbell, Fletcher, Powell. On the bench, you've still got your Gregory, your Tom Ince, Sam Vaughn. So going forward, it's unbelievable. And you've still got Joe Allen to come back when he comes back from his injury as well. So they're going to get stronger as well, which is quite scary.
Yeah, and like Leslie makes a good point there. They got so much money with the family which backs them. It just is what it is. But they, like you say, great squad. And Collins' red card versus Barnsley has been rescinded as well. I saw earlier. Next up is Huddersfield.
Had a really good week. 2 wins, beat Swansea City away and Derby at home. And I thought Bakuna was excellent in both games. He's scoring goals from wide right. He's creating chances. And for the season they had last season, Si. You know what I mean? This
what
is like chalk and cheese.
Starts, isn't it?
Exactly, and they've got a new manager, so he's obviously enjoying his time and as a manager from being a under 23 coach or wherever he was at Leeds United. But yeah, he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, they beat Swansea 2-1 and they beat Derby 1-0, and they drew with Rotherham before that. Yeah. So they're getting a bit of momentum. Yeah. Norwich City, down from the Premier League, a bit stop-starty so far.
Yeah, they were, but they've had a good week. So is this the catalyst for them to kick on? They beat Rotherham away with a last minute winner, Jordan Hugill, and then they win against Birmingham City with an 87-minute winner. So their confidence, their fitness levels, they're going right to the last, which I think is so important for the manager and the team. And I look at the squad on paper. You've got Tim Krul in goal, you've got Hanley and Ben Gibson defenders. You've got Jordan Hugill, you've got Pookie up front, you've got Cantwell, they've got Aarons at full-back. They've got some of the standout Premier League players who got them there, who nearly kept them there. So, listen, I think they've got a great chance to go up.
Yeah, I really like Vrancic, is it?
Yeah, he's got the winning goal against Birmingham, yeah.
I really, really like him. I think he's a fantastic player. Brentford, they seem to another team getting it together now. Ropey start.
Yeah, they've had a good week. 4 goals for Ivan Toney. Beat 2 good sides, Coventry City at home and Sheffield Wednesday away. And listen, We were both concerned about the players that were leaving and were the players going to come in and be able to compete at the same level. But listen, Ivan Toney's coming in and probably surpassing everything what I thought he was going to do. So I think it's so important that they continue this way of playing. And obviously Ivan Toney scored another 2 against the week before, by the way, against Preston, 2-0 up, but then got beat 4-2. If that result could have been different and they held out second half, then they would have won 4 out of 4 and it would have been huge.
Spot on, mate. I've been impressed with them last couple of weeks, last couple of games. Really think they look slowly starting to look like not the Brentford of old though, because I feel like where they've sold or they've got rid of Ben Rama and Ollie Watkins, they've had to adjust the way they play going forward. They're not the same Brentford as last year, even when they've picked up a bit of form. It's a bit different, but I like it. I like to say Tony was what a signing, mate.
Oh.
How much they pay for him?
Well, I think
Not much, was it?
No, I don't think it's a lot of money at all.
Compared to what they brought in from Ben Rama and
silly money.
Ollie Watkins.
Silly money. What are you thinking there? Nearly £50 million.
Yeah, he was.
So-
Didn't pay more than $5 million for Tony. Did
No,
they?
I think it was 3. I think it was 3 in total.
That is, and that's
You know what I
good. You know, I wonder whether
It shows-
Peterborough, if they'd signed Tony at the end of the window, whether they'd have been asking closer to 10.
Yeah,
Knowing
at least double.
Brentford have brought in 50.
Yeah.
And then we have the Lions, the Millwall. Gary Rowett has passed positive for COVID-19, so best wishes to him. You know,
You missed the team, by the way, but we'll go back to them. I don't want people to say that
Who did I miss around? Who did I miss?
The Swans. I don't want people to say we've been
Swans are in
biased,
fifth,
by the way.
man.
No, they're not. They're not. They're in.
My table's
they're in
live.
sixth.
That's why. My table's live. So one of the teams moved.
Millwall have had a great week. 2 wins out of 2 London derbies. Beaten Wickham away, beat Luton at home. I don't think it doesn't get better than that. You know that they even give Wickham a head start. So and still beat them 2-1. So they can test themselves by giving goals away. But Gary Rowett must be really pleased. Really pleased in the way that they've started and got themselves in a really good position, scoring goals and not normally letting a lot of goals in.
Yeah, mate. Ross Wallace is just so good, mate.
How's he? How they've kept him, I do not know. How no one's had a little nibble at him, I don't know.
Even when he doesn't score, he contributes so much going forward. But he works back as well. He's a really, really top player. Next up on my live table is Swansea City. What a bad week for the Swans. What a shame.
Yeah, horrific.
And they lost Joe Rodon to Spurs.
Yeah. Obviously lost at home to Huddersfield Town, really bad result. Drew away from home at Coventry City, which we spoke about beating the teams who've just come up. They've got to make sure obviously things improve. Play Bristol City tomorrow as well, and then Stoke City, and then Blackburn, and then Brentford and Norwich. So they've got a really, really tough month ahead. So this is a test for them now, Si. It's a test for the players to see if they can step up to that Premier League. You know, that you look at the impact that Brewster had last year. They need someone to step up to the plate and not just wait on IU to score the goals for them.
Yeah, spot on, mate. What else have we got then? So we've got who's above the Swans?
Brentford.
I keep going off the bloody table. So we just done Brentford, and then next with AFC Bournemouth.
They've had a bad week in comparison to where they want to be. Obviously, drew at home to QPR 0-0. Drew against Cardiff City away 1-1. So I think the Cardiff City result they'll have probably taken. I think they'll look for probably 4 points that week. I think they'll look at the QPR game and think it's points dropped. They had a lot more chances than QPR did. They just probably deserved to win the game, but you've got to put your chances away. You know, defensively they look pretty strong side for me. So I think if Jason Tyndall can and Jonesy can have them defensively strong, they'll have an opportunity to carry this good run forward.
Yeah, I think I said Rod Wallace.
Jed,
not Rod Wallace.
Rod was a good player though.
Quality, mate. What was it? Rodney, Danny,
and
there's another one as well. I'll find out now. Next up,
Rod.
Watford.
Ray.
Watford.
Watford. Yeah. Oh, listen, the goal on Friday night by Pedro was out of this world. Deserved to win any game, so fair play to him. He scored again against Blackburn Rovers to win. Tom Cleverley as well scored. And listen, they're a good side, and they're gonna they're going to be a team to beat if teams aren't going to be careful, because they don't let a lot of goals inside. They're really solid to beat. They've let 2 in this season. They've scored 6, so they've scored a goal a game, but they've scored 3 in that game. But they've got 13 points out of 6 games so far, so they've had a really good start.
Speaking of good starts, Bristol City, 2nd place. And what a start they've made.
Yeah, amazing start. Obviously, I watched the game on Tuesday. I thought they were really clueless, which really surprised me about the start they had, because they scored goals, they created chances, and they just lacked. I was really looking forward to seeing Patterson, because everyone's raving about him. He's playing really well. He's been in your ups, I think, at least once since he started.
Twice, actually.
But I was really disappointed.
Do you think they looked
did a job on him.
Clueless? But I thought in defensively and going forward, I thought they looked really disjointed.
Yeah, well, I think the tactics at Middlesbrough really threw them, and I don't know why it threw them, because I think they should have really known what was coming, and sitting and letting them have the ball and playing out from the back and not having no pressure. And the defenders got nervous, and the longer the game went, the players were getting more nervous. And obviously the mistake what the lad made for the goal was just, it was really, really poor, because he had so much time on the ball. He had 5 options to do what he should have done or could have done, and then he made a really, really poor judgment and got beat 1-0. And he was obviously devastated after the game, and people trying to bring him up and get him through the last 10 minutes of the game, but it just wasn't happening.
Indeed, mate. Elliot in the chat just said Bristol City will be relegated. I tell you what, if Bristol City get relegated after the start they've had, that'll be one of the most extreme falls from grace I've ever seen.
If they get sacked, Lee Johnson will get his job back.
Couldn't happen to a nicer man. Next up, Reading, sitting pretty. Another great start to another season before they fade away dramatically.
Yeah, I can't believe how they started, Si. I'll be honest, I can't believe how they started.
They did it last year, though, as well, didn't they?
I know, but
not as good as this.
But they're keeping clean sheets this time, which I don't understand. You know what I mean? Normally, the big Cardiff hit in the 3-1 or 3-2 on the first day. But obviously, this time they beat Barnsley 2-0 a few weeks ago. Then they beat Cardiff away. A clean sheet against Watford. A clean sheet against Middlesbrough. A clean sheet against Wickham. You know what I mean? So, and they've got goals in the team. I look at some of the players moving forward. Lucas Jow. You know what I mean? You've got Mite, Esjana, Olise. You know what I mean? The 3 behind the 1 are really effective in scoring goals. You've also got Puskas on the bench, he's not bad. He's not bad to bring on who can't come on. So it's, exactly. So I think it tells its bigger story when you've got. And this happened to Preston North End last year. That when you've got squad players as good as those, it has a big impact.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so that's the teams, that's the leagues. We're gonna we'll put our predictions on social media. So to finish us off, we're gonna go 2 up and 2 down, and I think we'll start with a negative, and then we'll finish on a positive. Who you got for your first down, mate?
My first down, I've gone for Bristol City's defending, because I thought, especially against Middlesbrough, I just thought they had so much time on the ball to make these kind of decisions, and I thought they were poor. And obviously the goal accumulated with that decision, and they just lacked ideas, and for me they were clueless.
Yeah, I was going to go for Daniel Bentley and Taylor Moore, because it was just a schoolboy error. It's a complete howler. Cost them 3 points versus Boro, and you can't do that at this level. But obviously, because you went with it, I went for QPR, because like we said when we were talking about it, 1 week they're really good, one next week they're absolutely all over the place, and the midweek game this week, their defence was appalling. Really poor.
Totally agree.
So disorganised, all over the place. So I gave my first down to them. Who you got for your second one, mate?
I've gone for Millwall's defending against Wickham Wanderers, because I just thought it was disastrous, and you can't afford to give any side. You know what I mean? And it's about overplaying side for me. You know what I mean? You make these kind of mistakes. Well. Yeah, the wrong areas, because I've always been coached and told. First 5-10 minutes, get them turned. You know what I mean? Not overplaying, pass it back to your goalkeeper and make angles, and just play a game that you don't play in the last 20 minutes that you do in the first 20 minutes. It doesn't make sense to me. Just play the same way from first to last, because if you're playing against a Watford or a Middlesbrough or a Cardiff City, you might not be able to turn that result round. So, you know what I mean? They're very fortunate that they ended up having a Jed Wallace and other very talented footballers to turn that around against a poor side.
Spot on, mate. My second down, I went for McDonald of Rotherham for his sending off versus Norwich City, because I think that changed the game. I know it was after the equaliser, but for Norwich to equalise and then Rotherham go down to 10 men, I feel like that killed any hope they had of. And when you're struggling and you've come up into this league, we've discussed like how big the difference is between League One and Championship. You can't make silly decisions like that, which ultimately cost your team. So
I totally agree.
Yeah, feeling a bit harsh today, but maybe that's what you've got to do, mate. Who's your first up, mate?
My first up, I'm going to start with Bakuna from Huddersfield Town. Obviously, he's playing a pivotal role with Huddersfield this season from the right-hand side. He's beating players, he's been positive. He impressed me last year in the games I watched him, but he didn't get the rewards and things that he needed. So it was nice to see him now starting to get a few rewards and scoring some goals, which match his performance. So yes, it's nice to see him getting some personal rewards as well as team rewards.
Good shout, mate, that is. So my first up is Rodney Wallace. No, my first up is Jed Wallace, just because everything which Millwall do well, and they're doing a lot well at the moment, goes through him. But I just think he works so hard for the team, not just his quality going forward and his assists, his goals, but his work rate for the team is superb. Second up, mate.
My second up is Ivan Toney. Listen, the most informed player in the Championship so far. He's scored 6 goals in the last 3 games, and if he can keep this kind of form going, then he'll be a Premier League player come January. Because if he's going to end up scoring more goals by Christmas than Ollie Watkins did. Look how Ollie Watkins has taken to the Premier League with Aston Villa. So
there'll be a.
But everyone did say though to me that Ivan Toney was a Premier League player in the making. So for me, I think he's made the right step and the right move to a club like Brentford, who, listen, they've got notoriously bring in some and pass through some silly centre forward to the Premier League. So I think he's selected his club very wisely.
Yes, he has indeed. And the other thing with that is, like, there's always going to be a Premier League team who's struggling for a goal or struggling for goals in January. Who're going to look at the Championship, who's banging form. We saw it with Jared Bowen before that. My second up was Harry Wilson. Because I just think, not just his goal, which was superbly taken, his overall play and his creativity, I think he's going to really take the pressure off Lee Tomlin, who's back next week. Because without Harry Wilson, say on Wednesday or Tuesday, whenever it was, Cardiff don't win that game because Tomlin's injured.
I agree.
And I've mentioned that Cardiff didn't address the fullback area. One thing they did address was the pressure on Lee Tomlin. So you got to give him credit for that. Very, very quickly, I'm just going to shoot a couple of questions for you, which you can answer, because we're then going to shoot off the air. Halloween special. Someone said, can we do a Halloween special? I don't know what day Halloween is.
No,
and
right.
Also we've all got kids as well, so we'll have to.
I've got my mask on. I've got my mask on anyway, so
yeah. Same person, Elliot, said, can we do will we do a giveaway when we get to 1,000 subs? 100%, I will do a giveaway when we get to 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we've had this idea, haven't we, Si? That we've got some plans in the making. It's going to be. Yeah, we've tried.
There'll
these,
probably be a couple of giveaways when we get to 1,000.
We've tried certain things. I think we want to revisit a watch along again, don't we? From what we do, especially if it's a midweeker or something, and there's it's an idea what we want to revisit again, because it was very successful.
Yeah, and I mean, one idea maybe for Halloween, me and Andy haven't talked about this, we just sprung to mind, is if there's games on Halloween, we could do a watch along with me and you, and maybe we could have some people jump in, some former friends of former guests could jump in for 10 minutes here and there, and just do a watch along or something like that. I don't know, we'll have a look. That's very kind of my wife to say. We got lots of costumes. No, we're alright. I just need to dress up.
Becky, you just keep them to yourself.
Ooh. There was another question I was going to shoot at you, and I can't remember it. Who replaced Brewster at Swansea? It's that boy, I've forgotten his name, who I've been banging on about all season.
Well, Ayew obviously is the main striker, and they brought in the lad from Wolves. I can't remember his name now. But it's a lad from Wolves, so I'm just going to find it just very quickly. Just bear with me.
Oh, Halloween is a Monday, so yeah, we will definitely do something. That might be the week, mate, for that guest.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Oh, that'll be a cracker, mate.
He might be. I can't. He's got a double barrel name anyway. I can't recall it.
Right.
I can't recall it.
He's the young lad.
Yeah, he's on like Wolves. Yeah, but he's had a great start of the season.
Spot on. And very lastly, can you put baked beans on a pizza?
No. Well, you can.
There you go.
You can, but you won't be coming to my house.
Do you have pineapple on pizza?
No, I'm not a big fan of ham and pineapple.
I see. I don't like ham and pineapple, but I have pizza on every pineapple on every pizza I have.
We had pizza for tea tonight.
Oh mate,
I
I want a Domino's now.
Making an appearance. We had pizza tonight for tea, so we had just plain pizza, didn't we?
Oh, back. Come here with Domino's. Right. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Spread the word. Get involved. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do it, because I think we're up to like 900 and something. The 1,000 subscribers was our first long-term goal, which we set ourselves. And yeah, so we're very close now to that. And obviously that'll be a massive reward for all the hard work that we've put in. Got a new cricket show dropping tomorrow with not one but 2 interviews with top level former England internationals. Sunday night 8 p.m. the brand new Mental Health in Sport football edition with former Wales international David Cottrell this time around.
Cracker.
And it's going to be a good one. Thank you to all the people who checked out the previous shows, because I really appreciate that. Obviously it's an important subject, and yeah, Mr. Campbell was very honest in everything he talked about. So yes, I appreciate everyone.
Which I think is key, Si. You know what I mean? People who do want to listen to what I said. You know what I mean? And especially listen to David and to obviously all of other sides, other shows, because if one of those moments or one of those triggers happens or has happened to you, I think it's so important that they listen to what things have helped someone else, because it might help you. Just, you know what I mean? I've always tried to use something else to help somebody else, or listen to advice, and it hasn't done me any harm so far.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I'll just say quickly on that show is I had several guests lined up. 2 guests have had to pull out. 2 top level footballers have had to pull out ex-footballers because close friends have committed suicide recently, and that just shows how important this subject is. Got to keep talking about it. It's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be emotional, it's going to be upsetting, but we have to reach people who are struggling, and if you're struggling, you've got to talk about it. But anyway, in the meantime, we'll be back Monday. We could have something special and different lined up. We could be going a bit old school and a bit unscripted and uncensored, you never know. But until then, we will see you 8 o'clock Sunday for the Mental Health and Sport, 7:30 live Monday for the Andy Campbell Football Show. Until then, have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for commenting. Subscribe.
See you guys.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house.
Oh, she watched you on the show. Well, she's seen you on the show.
Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance
What is it to
would
say,
protect our
Dad?
home and family if
She
anything
just
bad
watched.
were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want.